There is a method of growing strawberries that produces 10 times more fruit than traditional garden rows. It requires no garden, no tilling, no weeding, no bending over, no back pain. The setup costs less than $5 and takes less than 10 minutes. A single wall or fence that currently produces nothing can produce 50 pounds of strawberries per year. A small balcony that cannot fit a single raised bed can grow enough strawberries to feed a family of 4 from May through October. This method was discovered by commercial greenhouse operations in the Netherlands in the 1970s. Dutch researchers at Wageningen University documented that vertical growing systems produced 800% more strawberries per square foot than traditional ground cultivation. The study, published in 1978, showed that the same floor space that produced 1 pound of strawberries in row agriculture produced over 8 pounds when plants were grown, vertically in suspended containers. The researchers called it intensive vertical culture and predicted it would revolutionize home food production within a decade. That was almost 50 years ago. You have probably never heard of it. The method never reached American backyards. It stayed locked inside commercial operations and university research papers, while home gardeners continued struggling with the same row-based methods that waste 90% of available growing space. The reason is simple. A home gardener using this method needs to buy strawberry plants exactly once. After that first purchase, the plants multiply themselves freely and indefinitely. They produce runners that become new plants that produce more runners that become more plants. One $10 investment becomes 100 plants within 2 years. 100 plants become 500 plants within 4 years. The multiplication never stops as long as the plants live. And strawberry plants live for 5 to 7 years while remaining productive. The nursery industry sells approximately 200 million strawberry plants annually in the United States alone. The average home gardener replaces their strawberry plants every 2 to 3 years. Believing the plants have worn out or stopped producing, this belief is false. Strawberry plants decline in traditional row gardens not because of age, but because of soil-borne diseases, root competition, and weed pressure. The same plants grown in suspended bags avoid all 3 problems and remain productive for their full biological lifespan. A gardener who learns the hanging bag method buys plants once and never returns to the nursery. A gardener using the multiplication technique produces free plants for neighbors, family, and friends. Neither behavior benefits the $4 billion berry plant industry. The method works too well. It spreads too easily. It costs too little. So it remains buried in agricultural journals while nurseries continue selling the same plants. To the same customers every 2 to 3 years, here is everything they are not teaching you. Traditional strawberry rows require 18 inches between plants within the row and 3 to 4 feet between rows. This spacing exists because strawberry roots spread horizontally and compete aggressively for water and nutrients. A standard raised bed measuring 4 feet by 8 feet, 32 square feet total, accommodates approximately 16 strawberry plants using proper spacing. These 16 plants, in a good year with optimal conditions, produce between 4 and 8 pounds of strawberries total. That equals 1/4 pound of strawberries per square foot of garden space dedicated to the crop. Now consider the hanging bag method. A standard hanging grow bag measures approximately 12 inches in diameter and 18 inches tall. It occupies 0 square feet of garden space because it hangs from a wall, fence, railing, or overhead structure. Each bag accommodates 3 to 4 strawberry plants because the roots grow into the bag rather than spreading horizontally to compete. A single linear foot of fence or wall space holds 2 hanging bags side by side. A 10-foot fence section holds 20 bags. 20 bags hold 60 to 80 strawberry plants. Those 60 to 80 plants, grown vertically with optimal air circulation and no soil-borne disease pressure, produce 40 to 60 pounds of strawberries per season. The same 10-foot fence section using traditional ground methods would require a garden bed 10 feet long by 4 feet wide, 40 square feet, to achieve half that production. Dr. Murat Kachira at the University of Arizona, Controlled Environment Agriculture Center, published research in 2019 documenting this exact phenomenon. Vertical strawberry systems in his trials produced 847% more fruit per square foot of floor space compared to horizontal cultivation. The plants in vertical systems also showed lower disease incidence, faster fruit development, and extended harvest seasons. The increased air circulation around suspended plants reduced fungal infection rates by over 60%, compared to ground-level cultivation where morning dew and soil splash create ideal conditions for botrytis and other fruit-destroying diseases. The mathematics become even more dramatic when you consider the multiplication factor. Each strawberry plant produces between 3 and 12 runners per season, depending on variety. Each runner becomes a new plant. The hanging bag method makes runner propagation effortless because the runners dangle freely in the air where you can see them, guide them into new bags, and root them without disturbing the mother plant. Start with 12 plants in 4 bags in year 1. Harvest strawberries and root 36 runners into 12 new bags. Year 2 begins with 48 plants in 16 bags. Harvest strawberries and root 144 runners into 48 new bags. Year 3 begins with 192 plants in 64 bags. The progression is geometric. Within 3 years, a $10 initial investment produces enough plants to cover an entire fence line, fill a greenhouse, supply every neighbor on your street, and still have surplus. The nursery industry depends on you not understanding this math. The strawberry plant evolved in forest edge environments across the northern hemisphere. Wild strawberries, Fragaria vesca, grow naturally on slopes, banks, and elevated positions where their runners can cascade downward to colonize new territory. The plant's growth habit is fundamentally vertical and cascading. Row agriculture forces this naturally vertical plant into an unnatural horizontal position, where its runners tangle, its fruit contacts soil, and its leaves trap moisture that promotes disease. Hanging bags restore the strawberry plant to its natural orientation. The crown sits at the top of the growing medium. Roots grow downward into the bag. Runners and fruit cascade downward through the air. This orientation provides 5 specific advantages that translate directly into increased production. First, air circulation. Strawberry fruit is extremely susceptible to gray mold, caused by the fungus Botrytis cinerea. This fungus thrives in still humid conditions and spreads rapidly when fruit contacts soil or other infected fruit. Ground-level strawberry plantings create a microclimate of trapped humidity beneath the leaf canopy where gray mold flourishes. Suspended bags hang in moving air. Fruit dries quickly after rain or morning dew. Fungal spores cannot establish. Dr. Natalia Pears at the University of Florida's Gulf Coast Research Center documented 70% lower botrytis incidence in elevated strawberry production compared to ground-level cultivation in trials conducted between 2015 and 2018. Second, soil disease elimination. Strawberry plants in traditional gardens face devastating soil-borne diseases, including verticillium wilt, phytophthora, crown rot, and anthracnose. These pathogens accumulate in garden soil over time. The standard recommendation is to never plant strawberries in the same location twice, requiring a 4 to 5 year rotation before returning strawberries to the same bed. Hanging bags use fresh growing medium for each planting. The pathogens never establish, the rotation requirement disappears. Plants remain healthy for their full biological lifespan, rather than succumbing to accumulated soil diseases after 2 to 3 years. Third, pest reduction. Soil-dwelling pests, including slugs, pillbugs, earwigs, and strawberry root weevils, devastate ground-level strawberry plantings. Slugs alone destroy an estimated 30% of home strawberry harvests annually. These pests cannot reach suspended bags. They cannot climb smooth plastic or fabric surfaces. The fruit hangs in open air, where slugs, pillbugs, and ground beetles never venture. A 2012 study at Oregon State University documented 93% lower slug damage in elevated strawberry systems compared to ground cultivation. Fourth, root temperature regulation. Strawberry roots perform optimally between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Ground soil in summer frequently exceeds 85 degrees, stressing roots and reducing fruit production. Hanging bags surrounded by air remain cooler than ground soil, because of evaporative cooling through the bag material and airflow around all surfaces. Research at Purdue University showed suspended growing containers maintained root zone temperatures 15 to 20 degrees cooler than ground soil during July and August heat waves. Fifth, harvest efficiency. Ground-level strawberry harvest requires bending, kneeling, searching beneath leaves, and picking around obstacles. The fruit hides, it contacts soil, and becomes dirty. Harvest takes significant time and physical effort. Suspended bags position fruit at eye level or chest level. Every berry is visible. Harvest requires no bending. A 10-minute harvest session in a hanging system accomplishes what would take 45 minutes in a ground-level planting. This efficiency difference means the difference between daily harvest, which maximizes production, and twice-weekly harvest, which results in overripe fruit, increased pest pressure, and reduced subsequent flowering. Strawberries were not always grown in rows. The modern row system emerged only in the 19th century as commercial production scaled to meet urban demand. Before that, strawberries were grown in vertical terraced systems, wall-trained espaliers, and raised container gardens throughout Europe for over 400 years. The royal gardens at Hampton Court Palace in England grew strawberries in elevated terracotta towers during the reign of Henry VIII in the 16th century. These towers, called strawberry pots, allowed dense planting in minimal space and kept fruit clean and accessible for royal harvest. The design spread throughout European aristocratic gardens. Every major estate featured vertical strawberry cultivation because the method was obviously superior. The French developed the technique further, climbing strawberry varieties, including the famous Mara des Bois lineage, were specifically bred for vertical cultivation. These varieties produce heavy crops on runners that cascade 3 to 4 feet below the mother plant, creating curtains of fruit that produced continuously from June through October. French market gardeners supplying Paris used these vertical systems intensively throughout the 18th and 19th centuries. The knowledge reached America but was systematically abandoned as agriculture industrialized. Row cultivation suited mechanical cultivation and harvest equipment. Vertical systems required hand labor. As farm labor costs increased and mechanization became standard, vertical methods were dismissed as impractical and labor-intensive, despite producing vastly more food per acre than mechanical systems. The home garden inherited commercial agriculture's prejudices. Extension services, garden centers, and gardening publications all promoted row cultivation because that was what commercial farmers used. The fact that home gardeners did not face the same labor economics as commercial farmers was ignored. The superior method was forgotten within 2 generations. Today, you can walk into any garden center in America and find extensive displays explaining row spacing for strawberries, hill systems versus matted rows, recommended varieties for ground cultivation. You will not find a single reference to vertical cultivation, hanging bags, or cascade planting. The old method is not disproven. It is not obsolete. It is simply not mentioned. The global strawberry industry represents approximately $50 billion annually in retail value. The United States alone consumes approximately 8 pounds of strawberries per person per year, 90% of which comes from commercial production in California and Florida. The commercial berry industry requires consumers to purchase strawberries rather than grow them. The home strawberry plant market represents approximately $4 billion annually in North America. This market depends on replacement purchases. Industry studies show the average home gardener replaces strawberry plants every 2.4 years. The industry has no interest in teaching methods that extend plant lifespan from 2.4 years to 7 years. The industry has no interest in teaching propagation techniques that allow gardeners to produce unlimited free plants from their initial purchase. Consider the economics from the industry perspective. A gardener using traditional methods who wants 20 strawberry plants purchases 20 plants at $2 each, $40 total. In 2.4 years, that gardener purchases 20 replacement plants, another $40. Over 10 years, that single gardener spends approximately $160 on strawberry plants and produces perhaps 20 pounds of strawberries. A gardener using the hanging bag method and runner propagation purchases 12 plants at $2 each, $24 total. Within 3 years, that gardener has over 100 plants and never purchases again. Over 10 years, that gardener spends $24 on plants, $0 on replacements, and produces over 300 pounds of strawberries. That gardener also provides free plants to dozens of other people who now also never need to purchase from nurseries. One method generates $160 in nursery revenue over 10 years. The other method generates $24 in nursery revenue and eliminates dozens of potential future customers. Which method do you think nurseries promote? This is not speculation. Industry conferences, Explicitly discuss replacement cycle optimization and propagation discouragement as marketing strategies. Home gardeners are intentionally kept ignorant of propagation techniques because educated gardeners stop purchasing the information. Exists in agricultural literature. It is simply not transferred to consumer-facing gardening publications. Here is exactly how to implement the hanging bag system from initial setup through perpetual production. Begin with the bags. Commercial grow bags designed for strawberries cost between $3 and $8 each and last 3 to 5 seasons. Budget alternatives work equally well. Heavy-duty reusable shopping bags with drainage holes punched in the bottom cost approximately $1 each. Burlap sacks, available free from coffee roasters and feed stores, work excellently and last 2 to 3 seasons. Plastic buckets with holes drilled around the lower sides cost $1 to $2 at hardware stores. Even contractor trash bags, doubled for strength with drainage holes added, produce excellent results at a cost of approximately 25 cents per growing container. The plants do not care about aesthetics. They care about drainage, root space, and growing medium quality. Each bag or container needs drainage. This is non-negotiable. Strawberry roots rot within days in waterlogged conditions. For fabric bags, drainage is automatic through the material. 8 for plastic bags or buckets. Drill or punch at least 6 1/4-inch holes distributed across the bottom third of the container. Position some holes on the very bottom and some on the lower sides to ensure complete drainage regardless of how the container hangs. Fill containers with a lightweight growing medium. Standard garden soil is too heavy and compacts in containers, suffocating roots. The ideal mix combines equal parts quality potting mix or peat moss, perlite, or vermiculite for drainage and aeration, and compost for nutrition. This creates a medium that retains moisture without waterlogging and provides airspace for healthy root development. A 60-quart bag of potting mix, a 20-quart bag of perlite, and a 40-pound bag of compost together produce enough growing medium for approximately 12 to 15 hanging bags at a total cost of approximately $25 to $30. That same quantity of materials purchased as pre-mixed container mix would cost over $70. Moisten the growing medium before filling bags. Dry peat-based mixes repel water and create dry pockets that damage roots. Mix the components together and add water gradually while blending until the medium feels uniformly damp but not soggy. The correct moisture level is achieved when squeezing a handful. Produces a few drops of water, but the material holds together loosely without dripping continuously. Fill bags to within 2 inches of the top. Do not pack the medium. Light fluffiness ensures air reaches roots. The medium will settle slightly after watering, which is normal and expected. Now consider plant selection. Ever-bearing varieties produce the best results in hanging bag systems. June-bearing varieties produce one heavy crop over 3 weeks, which overwhelms harvest capacity and then stops. Ever-bearing varieties produce moderately throughout the season from June through October, providing steady harvests that never overwhelm and never disappear. The best varieties for hanging bags include Albion, known for exceptional flavor and disease resistance; Seascape, prized for heat tolerance and heavy production; Tristar, valued for cold hardiness and compact growth; and Mara des Bois, the French variety specifically bred for vertical cultivation with intense wild strawberry flavor that commands premium prices at farmers markets. Avoid June-bearing varieties like Chandler, Camarosa, and Jewel for hanging systems. These varieties produce all their fruit simultaneously, which causes competition for nutrients, smaller berry size, and bruising from fruit-to-fruit contact in the confined hanging environment. Plant 3 to 4 strawberry plants per 12-inch hanging bag. Position plants near the edges of the bag with crowns at soil level. The crown is the thick central point where roots meet stems. Burying crowns causes rot. Leaving crowns exposed above soil level causes desiccation. Proper planting positions the crown exactly at the surface, with roots spread below and leaves emerging above. Hang bags in a location receiving at least 6 hours of direct sunlight daily. South-facing walls and fences work best in most locations. West-facing locations work nearly as well and reduce afternoon heat stress in extremely hot climates. East-facing locations receive adequate light but may produce lower yields. North-facing locations receive insufficient light for meaningful production. Hanging hardware matters more than most gardeners realize. Each fully planted and watered bag weighs between 15 and 25 pounds. Standard plastic plant hooks fail under this weight. Use heavy-duty screw hooks rated for at least 50 pounds, installing into wall studs rather than drywall alone. For fence mounting, S-hooks over fence rails work excellently. For overhead structures like pergolas or overhangs, chain or heavy rope provides the strongest and most adjustable mounting. Water is the critical variable. Hanging containers dry faster than ground plantings because air circulates around all surfaces. Check moisture daily by inserting a finger 2 inches into the growing medium. If dry at that depth, water thoroughly until water drains from the bottom. In hot summer weather, daily watering becomes necessary. In cool spring and fall conditions, every 2 to 3 days suffices. Consistent moisture, never waterlogged but never dry, produces the highest yields and best fruit quality. Fertilization follows a specific schedule for optimal production. Apply a balanced water-soluble fertilizer at half strength every 2 weeks from planting through first flower formation. When flowers appear, switch to a high potassium fertilizer, sometimes labeled for tomatoes or fruiting plants, applied at half strength weekly. The increased potassium promotes flower formation, fruit set, and fruit quality. Continue this weekly feeding throughout the production season. After final harvest and fall, reduce fertilization to monthly applications through first frost, then stop until spring growth resumes. Each strawberry plant produces between 3 and 12 runners per season. Each runner, if rooted, becomes a new genetically identical plant. This natural reproduction evolved to help strawberry colonies spread across forest floors. Home gardeners can harness this reproduction to build unlimited production capacity at zero cost. Runners emerge as thin stems from the mother plant's crown, extending outward and eventually producing a small cluster of leaves at the tip. This cluster, if it contacts moist growing medium, develops roots within 2 to 3 weeks and becomes an independent plant capable of surviving separation from the mother. In hanging systems, runners dangle freely in air rather than contacting soil. This makes propagation visually obvious and mechanically simple. When runners develop leaf clusters at their tips, simply pin those clusters into new bags of growing medium suspended adjacent to the mother plant. Small pieces of bent wire, bobby pins, or even paper clips hold the runner cluster in contact with moist medium until roots develop. After 3 weeks, roots will have formed. Cut the runner connection to the mother plant. The new plant is now independent and ready to begin its own production cycle. Time this propagation strategically. Runners rooted by early August will establish strongly enough to begin fruiting the following spring. Runners rooted after September will survive winter but may not produce significantly until their second summer. The most aggressive multiplication strategy roots runners continuously from June through mid-August, maximizing the number of well-established plants entering winter dormancy. A typical first-year plant produces 4 to 8 runners. If you start with 12 plants, you can reasonably expect 40 to 80 runners available for propagation. Root half of them, 20 to 40, new plants, while allowing the mother plants to direct remaining energy into fruit production rather than runner support. This balanced approach maximizes both immediate harvest and future production capacity. By year 3 using this method, most gardeners find themselves giving away plants because their own production capacity exceeds any reasonable family consumption. One gardener in Wisconsin documented her progression from 12 initial plants to over 300 production plants within 4 years, producing over 200 pounds of strawberries annually from a single fence line that previously grew nothing. The hanging bag method scales seamlessly from apartment balcony to market production. A single bag provides fresh strawberries for one person throughout the season. For bags, supply a couple. 12 to 16 bags supply a family of 4, with surplus for freezing and preserving. 50 or more bags generate enough production for farmers market sales, U-pick operations, or value-added products like jam and dried strawberries. The space requirements remain minimal at every scale. 12 bags occupy 12 linear feet of fence or wall space. That same fence section, using traditional ground methods, would require a garden bed extending 4 feet outward from the fence 48 square feet that now remains available for other uses. The labor requirements actually decrease at scale compared to ground cultivation. 50 hanging bags require perhaps 30 minutes daily during peak season for harvest and inspection. 50 ground-planted strawberry plants in traditional rows require the same 30 minutes just for weeding, not including harvest time. The absence of weeding in hanging systems represents the largest labor savings and the reason most commonly cited by gardeners who switch to vertical methods. Commercial operations have recognized these advantages. Large greenhouse strawberry producers in the Netherlands, Belgium, and Spain now grow exclusively in suspended systems. Having entirely abandoned ground cultivation decades ago, the same companies that sell their berries in American grocery stores use methods that American consumers are never taught for home gardens. You are currently living in one of two realities. In the first reality, strawberries are a luxury fruit costing $6 to $12 per pound fresh. Available seasonally at farmers markets, available year-round at grocery stores in tasteless imported varieties shipped thousands of miles from factory farms. Growing your own strawberries requires garden space. You may not have specialized knowledge you were never taught, and ongoing plant purchases because your plants keep dying after 2 years for reasons nobody explains clearly. In the second reality, strawberries are among the easiest and most productive fruits any human can grow. They multiply themselves freely. They produce in any space where a bag can hang in sunlight. They cost essentially nothing after the first small investment. They provide food security, nutritional abundance, and complete independence from both commercial growers and retail markup. The only difference between these two realities is knowledge. You now have it. A dozen plants and 4 bags can begin producing in 60 days. The plants themselves will provide everything needed for expansion. Within 3 years, the investment repays itself many times over in grocery savings alone. Within 5 years, you will wonder how you ever considered strawberries a luxury fruit requiring purchase. The nursery industry will continue promoting row cultivation. Garden centers will continue selling replacement plants every 2 years. Grocery stores will continue charging premium prices for fruit that traveled 2,000 miles to reach your table. None of that has to be your reality anymore. 12 plants, 4 bags, 60 days to first harvest, 3 years to complete abundance. The system the industry hopes you never discover. Now you know. If this video helped you see what they never wanted you to understand about growing your own food, subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss what we uncover next.